Imagine two people who have spent decades together. They have shared responsibilities, raised families, faced financial pressures, and navigated life's ups and downs. Over time, routines form, conversations become shorter, physical affection slowly decreases without anyone even noticing. One day, a husband realizes it has been months since he held his wife's hand. A wife suddenly notices that the warm hugs that once greeted her at the door are gone. Nothing dramatic happened. No big fight. Just silence where touch once lived. What many couples don't realize is that touch is not just about romance. It is about emotional connection, security, reassurance, and feeling valued. And as people grow older, these needs become even more important. After 60, life changes in many ways. Children leave home, retirement shifts daily routines, bodies change, and sometimes health concerns appear. During these transitions, something simple like a hand on the shoulder or a warm embrace can communicate more love than words ever could. Scientists and relationship experts have long studied the power of human touch. When two people touch in a caring way, the body releases a hormone called oxytocin. Many people call it the bonding hormone. It reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and creates feelings of trust and safety. In younger years, couples often experience this naturally through frequent affection. But as relationships age, those small gestures sometimes fade away, and with them, a powerful emotional glue disappears. The surprising truth is that older couples who maintain physical affection, simple things like holding hands, hugging, or sitting close, often report higher levels of happiness and emotional satisfaction. Touch becomes less about physical desire and more about deep emotional connection. It says, "I'm still here with you." It says, "You still matter to me." It says, "We are still a team." But here is where many relationships struggle. As people age, they often become more hesitant to initiate touch. Some worry their partner may not want it anymore. Others feel insecure about changes in their body. Some simply fall into habits where affection slowly disappears without either person realizing it. A husband may think, maybe she's not interested anymore. A wife may think, he hasn't touched me in a long time. Maybe he doesn't feel the same. And just like that, two people who still care deeply about each other begin living in emotional distance. The silence grows. The space between them slowly widens. But the truth is often the opposite. Many people over 60 crave touch more than ever before. Not because they are seeking passion the way they did in their 20s, but because touch represents comfort, reassurance, and companionship. It becomes a language of love that speaks louder than words. Think about a long marriage, like a long journey. In the early years, excitement drives the relationship forward. Everything is new and intense. But later in life, something more powerful replaces that excitement. Emotional depth. The relationship becomes less about sparks and more about warmth. Less about attraction and more about presence. touch becomes the quiet reminder that after all these years, someone is still walking beside you. For many couples, the most painful moment in a long relationship is not a fight or disagreement. It is the moment they realize the warmth is gone. They sit next to each other on the couch, watching television, but there is no hand reaching across, no arm resting gently around the shoulder. Just two people sharing space instead of sharing connection. And yet, rebuilding that connection is often easier than people think. Sometimes it begins with something incredibly small. A husband reaching for his wife's hand while walking. A wife placing her hand on her husband's arm while talking. A hug that lasts just a few seconds longer than usual. These tiny moments send powerful messages to the brain and heart. They rebuild emotional safety. They remind both partners that the bond they built over decades is still alive. In fact, many psychologists believe that touch is one of the most important emotional nutrients in long-term relationships. Just like the body needs food, the heart needs connection. Without it, people can begin to feel lonely, even while living with the person they married. Loneliness inside a relationship is more common than many people admit, especially after 60, when life slows down and couples spend more time together. If emotional warmth fades, the silence becomes louder. But here is the beautiful part. The power to change that often lies in the smallest actions. A simple hug after waking up, holding hands during a walk, a gentle touch on the back while passing by in the kitchen. These moments may seem ordinary, but they quietly rebuild emotional bridges. Many couples who rediscover touch later in life say something surprising. They often feel closer than they did decades earlier. Why? Because the pressure of youth is gone. There is no need to impress, perform, or prove anything. What remains is pure companionship. Touch becomes honest, calm, real. It is not about excitement anymore. It is about presence. Another powerful reason touch becomes more important after 60 is the emotional reassurance it provides. Aging can bring uncertainty. Health concerns, changes in energy levels, and the reality of time passing can sometimes create quiet fears. A loving touch reminds a partner that they are not facing those changes alone. It says, "We are still in this together." And sometimes that reassurance means more than any romantic gesture. There's also an interesting emotional shift that happens in long relationships. In younger years, couples often express love through big actions. Gifts, trips, surprises. But later in life, love becomes quieter and more meaningful through small daily gestures. A hand squeeze during conversation. A comforting hug after a stressful day. A gentle kiss before going to sleep. These simple moments accumulate over time and create a deep sense of emotional safety. When touch disappears completely, however, couples may begin to feel like strangers sharing the same home. Not because they stopped loving each other, but because the emotional signals that reinforce that love slowly faded away. And the longer that distance lasts, the harder it can feel to restart. But the truth is, it is never too late. One sincere moment of affection can reopen a door that has been closed for years. There are countless stories of couples who rediscovered the power of touch after decades together. One man in his 70s once said something very simple, but very powerful. He said, "After 50 years of marriage, the most important thing I can give my wife is my presence. And sometimes that presence is just holding her hand." That sentence captures something many people overlook. Touch is not about age. It is about connection. It tells your partner that they are still seen, still valued, still loved. And perhaps most importantly, it reminds both people that their relationship is not just history. It is still alive today. Sometimes couples believe affection must be spontaneous to be meaningful. But after 60, intention can be just as powerful. Choosing to hug your partner, choosing to sit close, choosing to reach out and touch their hand during conversation. These choices show care, awareness, and emotional investment. And interestingly, when one partner begins expressing more affection, the other often responds naturally. Emotional warmth tends to create more warmth. It spreads quietly through the relationship, like sunlight entering a room. Another fascinating aspect of touch after 60 is how it strengthens emotional communication. Many couples find that physical affection makes difficult conversations easier. When partners feel emotionally safe, they listen more openly and respond more kindly. A simple touch on the arm during a serious conversation can signal support and understanding. It says, "I'm not against you, I'm with you." And that message can completely change the tone of communication. In long relationships, misunderstandings often happen, not because love disappeared, but because emotional signals became weaker. Touch is one of the strongest signals humans have. It reassures, comforts, and reconnects. And unlike words, it cannot easily be misunderstood. Another reason touch matters more after 60 is the increasing importance of companionship. Earlier in life, people are busy building careers, raising children, and managing responsibilities. Couples may spend less time together simply because life is hectic. But later in life, the relationship itself becomes the center of daily life. Partners spend more time side by side. They share more quiet moments. And during those quiet moments, touch often becomes the language that fills the silence with warmth. Without it, the silence can feel cold. With it, the silence becomes peaceful. A couple sitting quietly on the porch, hands intertwined, may not be speaking, but their connection is stronger than words. Touch transforms ordinary moments into meaningful experiences. It reminds both partners that even after decades together, they are still important to each other. And perhaps the most powerful truth about touch after 60 is this. It reminds people that love does not expire with age. Society often sends the message that romance belongs to the young. But real love, the deep, enduring kind, often grows stronger with time. And touch becomes the gentle expression of that lasting bond. It says, without words, after everything we've been through, I still choose you. That message carries enormous emotional weight. It heals old hurts. It rebuilds closeness. It strengthens the sense of partnership that long marriages depend on. If you're watching this and you're over 60, or you have been with your partner for many years, consider something simple today. Reach for their hand. Give them a longer hug. Sit closer than usual. These small actions may seem insignificant, but they carry the power to revive emotional closeness in ways that long conversations sometimes cannot. Relationships are not maintained by big moments alone. They are sustained by small daily gestures that quietly remind two people they still belong to each other. Touch is one of the most powerful of those gestures, and the beautiful truth is that it never becomes less meaningful with age. In fact, for many couples, it becomes the most important expression of love they have left. So if this message resonated with you, take a moment today to reconnect with someone you love. Sometimes the simplest gesture, a hand held, a warm hug, a gentle touch, can say everything that words cannot. And if you believe relationships deserve more understanding, more compassion, and deeper connection as we grow older, make sure to subscribe to this channel and join our community. Because here we explore the real emotions, challenges, and beautiful truth about love, relationships, and life after 60. And remember this one powerful idea. Sometimes the smallest touch carries the deepest love.